Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Practical Pet Chat. Lorin, I don't know if this is just how things are going to be for the future, but today I really want to talk about what the H pet parenting. Oh my gosh, there are some interesting choices and decisions that are just mind-boggling to me constantly. Is it just because I live in California? Or is it elsewhere?
I'm pretty sure it's elsewhere too, but give me examples of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are probably the easiest one I'll give is this, and it just blew my mind. I was at I'm walking Belle on a leash, on a harness, with a safety secondary, and meanwhile, people are walking their dogs off the leash through the kids' playground. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh my God, this is a disaster waiting to happen. And I wish I could say I've only seen this happen once or twice, but this just seems to be more and more common. Um, it's the same thing. I mean, I've shared previously, I'll go to a big box store and people will have their dogs there and, in the car and all that. And hey, listen, that sometimes brings my stress levels down, but they're not comfortable. It's just things like that where I'm just like, what are you thinking other than this, dog must be attached to my hip 24/7 in order for them to survive. And I want to be
Yeah.
the first one to say that's not the case, folks. That is not the case.
Well, the ones that do it for me are these make me crazy. Are the people who either leave their pet tied up outside while
Oh,
they run into a store because I'm all I can think of is you don't expect that dog to be here when you get back, do you? Um, or number two, they leave them in the car. So when I had my store, I was coming out of a grocery store strip mall area, and I'm going out into the parking lot, and I'm about ready to head to my car, and I see a lady hurrying from her vehicle, and I can see this little head bouncing up and down. And I look at the car, and I look at the lady, and I can see nobody else in the car, and it's a Yorkie
oh.
in the car. And I said, sorry, but is that your car? And she goes, yes. And I said, you know how many dog thefts there are, right? How many people
Yeah,
will break in and steal a dog, especially a dog like that? Any dog, but
any dog.
that kind of
Yeah.
a dog, and this was at the height of their popularity, and they're expensive and she's like, she took such offense. And I was like, I know I should mind my own business, but I'm thinking about the dog here. And I was like, I will stand here and watch for you. If you're going to be that quick in the store, I'll stand by your car just to protect the dog. She just took so much offense to that she went and she got in her car and she probably just moved it and parked somewhere else. But at least in my head, it was like, okay, well, I can't see it. So, I don't have to stress over it. But,
Right.
it's the same thing when people leave their kids outside, tied up on a pole or a post. And I think, what could go wrong?
Right.
Another
Well,
dog
and
coming along or a small child or, what could go wrong?
yeah, I mean, and I see this a lot on walks too, and it may not reach the level of, WTH, but where folks are just constantly jerking the leash because their dog stops to sniff. And it's like that what did you think your dog can run and all that. They want to pick up all the scents, the smells. This is as much about the mental stimulation as it is the physical when you're out on this walk. And all you're doing is just yank, 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 just turning something that can be so positive into a negative. But I go back to the dogs running through where the kids are playing, and I'm just like, sadly, this can end tragic in so many different ways, and it's all so avoidable. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that just really frustrates me of like, people will want to blame something, and instead of getting to the heart of, wow, all of this could have been avoided if we just made the right decision at the start. The other 22 compounded mistakes led to what the outcome will be.
Mhm.
But, there's just not that awareness. I don't know. I mean, I see that in so many different phases of life these days. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but my goodness, it's that same. It's the same thing with, I'm trying to, get my pet to lose weight. I don't know why they aren't, oh, here you go, puppy. And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, gosh, I have no idea either. I really, truly do not know how to help you with your dog, your cat, or any of the other
Yeah.
plump
Yeah.
animals.
It's frustrating. I honestly just don't think people think about it. They're just,
Yeah.
unaware, which I guess is a blissful way to be because my head's on a swivel all the time, thinking about, looking around, what can my dogs get into? What could they, how is there anything here that could hurt them? Are they protected in every way? Helicopter mom, I'm just constantly, checking the water bowl. Is the water clean? And just everything you can think of. I'm sure I hope how human parents are about their kids, and that's a whole other issue. But I don't have kids, so we're not getting into that one. But I look at these people and I'm like, what's that like? Where you're just blissfully or unaware and your dog survives it all.
Right.
It's amazing. It's like the ones that kill me too are the people who will so where my store was, there was a guy that used to ride one of those little tiny mini motorcycles. I mean they're
Yeah,
really
I know what you're
small, but
talking
they
about.
go really fast.
Yeah.
And he's got a dog on the seat, not strapped to him, not strapped on, nothing, no attachment or anything. And I stress every time I see it. And the dog's fine. The dog's used to riding it, but my head goes into the what if. What if you got to dodge a car that's not paying attention? What if you need to go in a direction because something's coming or happening? The dog's going to get hurt. It's the same thing when people would put their dogs in the back of pickup trucks on the freeway.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, so many things can go wrong. The
Yeah.
dog, first came well, I tied it down. Okay, what could go wrong with that? And then it's like, okay, well, I don't tie the dog down anymore. Oh, because nothing could go wrong now with that either.
Right.
People don't, human beings can barely survive the freeways, especially here in Texas. But it's just I'm amazed by it. I truly am. I'm amazed by it because my head just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's funny when you you just sparked one. Well, I'm feeling like the old grumpy man screaming, "Get off my porch!" But yeah, with all these scooters these days and the e-bikes,
Hmm.
like I have no problem with them. And so, yeah, I see them thinking that's the best way to run their dog. Meanwhile, I'm looking at the dog and the dog's running at full speed, like, oh,
Right.
let me go. Just let me go. And I'm just like, everything you said, I've seen happen in calm conditions
Right.
where someone has, unfortunately fallen, the engine stops, the this, the that, whatever. And yes, they can keep it pedaling, with people power if they were so inclined. Sadly, that's not, how it goes quite often. Yeah, it is funny. When you say the blissfully, unaware and no ramifications, God bless. I hope that, continues to be the way for all of us. We all have our things that we're blind to, but it just, it's weird. It's to me, I think I'm so I do have kids. I'm a helicopter parent. Certainly, people would say that about my kids. Um, but I can communicate with them. So
Right.
I know when they're in tune with the environment and not. I can't do that with Belle or Sugar or Zoe or any of the other animals in my life. And so I'm just a little bit more vigilant because I believe I'm responsible for their safety, for their enjoyment, their food, all the rest of that stuff. So I just take it a little bit more that elevation that we talk about of,
Hmm.
hey, I'm a parent to my two-legged kids. I'm a parent to my four-legged kids as well. Even the tortoises, who thankfully move so slow that I have a very small window of having to be aware. But yet, and this is funny because it's not funny, but it just popped in my head. I'll see people with, their videos, their live streams, and sometimes I'll click into their turtles, their tortoises, whatever, and they're turned over. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, they'll survive for a while, but you got to flip them back over.
Hmm.
And so it's just, I sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's interesting because that's where that sisterly love comes in. Belle is very aware, and she's got a specific howl that she'll let out when I either need to go out there to, do something, adjust something for the tortoises, or if we've got, because where I live, we live in a community where we have the wild animals, we've got the falcons, we've got eagles, we've got all these other things. It's beautiful. I'm very blessed. But that also makes them potential prey sometimes. And while we have
Right.
them under a canopy, you just never know. And
Hmm.
so Belle, to her credit, will alert, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, maybe I should go sit out there and make sure nothing's going down. Um, and there's nothing more unsettling than that big shadow with the wings that is flying and hits you before you see the bird. And you're just like, oh, that is a big shadow, which means that's a big bird.
Yep.
But yeah, it's that awareness. It's that, and it's the same thing too, what the H, screaming at, the dogs because they're barking, the cats because they're, meowing and going, doing their vocalizations. Come on, you're just adding to the chaos and the cacophony of sound that, we're all now sitting here going, really? That didn't stop it. That just got it more excited. So
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, so apparently this is my old man get off my yard episode. Um, if
Okay, grumpy old man.
Yeah, if you have something you want to share with us where you shake your head and go, what the are they thinking? Definitely share that with us. practicalpetchat@gmail.com. As always, thanks for spending some time with Lauren and I on Practical Pet Chat.
Thanks, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2026 Practical Pet Chat. All rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.